Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, May 26th, 2017, the WNW 285. And I'm going to start with this little reprint of a Washington Post headline. Here's the way they played it. Russian contacts alarmed CIA chief. They continue to push a false narrative with a title like that. Russian contacts alarmed CIA chief. We're talking about this is the CIA chief in the Obama administration, John Brennan, testifying in front of the House this past week. John Brennan. Here's the way that the Washington Times pushed this story. John Brennan's Russia-Trump testimony, big nothing burger. And listen to what he says. And this is important, folks. I encountered and am aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals. Well, his concern is not proof. And the reason why I think he has to keep pushing this narrative, well, there were Russian contacts, because they had to have a reason for the Obama administration, and I think the president himself, the Obama administration, to use all the resources at his disposal, the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, and why is John Brennan, the CIA, investigating a domestic issue? I digress. The CIA should be doing that. But the outgoing president and his administration and his security and law enforcement services basically are surveilling an incoming president for the express purpose to try to get something on him and or trip him up and embarrass him and make him ineffective or try to get him impeached. That's the story, folks. Because Brennan goes on to say in the same testimony, and how many times have you heard Democrats and Republicans and people like James Clapper saying, there's no collusion, we didn't see any collusion, we don't have any proof, there's no proof. And this is what Brennan, the CIA director testifying, goes on to say. I don't know whether or not such collusion, and that's your term, he's telling Trey Gowdy this, existed. I don't know. I don't know whether or not such collusion existed is what he's saying. And then when Trey Gowdy asked him, do you have any evidence? He goes, I don't do evidence. You don't do evidence. You're trying to surveil for somebody for what you think is a crime and a terrible thing. You don't do evidence? They don't do evidence because they don't have any. And they have to stick to this story that, well, we thought something was going on, that's why we were surveilling them. This is unprecedented in American history. This makes Watergate look like a squirt gun fight. I'm telling you, I've said that before, I'll tell you again. Watergate was absolutely nothing. I mean, nobody made any money. No state secrets were disclosed. I mean, this is about a president erasing 18 minutes of tape. And obstruction of justice. They don't have that here. And you know who backs me up on that? That'd be Harvard professor of law and constitutional expert, Alan Dershowitz. Trump had the right to call Comey off Flynn's trial. That's another thing they're talking about. This is the Newsmax headline. Alan Dershowitz, Trump had the right to call Comey off Flynn's trial. He has the constitutional right. He also said about this collusion, if it did happen, and of course, there's no evidence, but even if it did happen, Dershowitz says, show me the statute where he broke the law. They're going to have Robert Mueller coming in here. He's not supposed to do political stuff. I mean, that's impeachment. Impeachment is political. Okay? He's supposed to come in and see if there's a crime. There's no crime. Where's the statute? This is Dershowitz. I would hate to get into a legal argument with Alan Dershowitz, who incidentally said he voted for Hillary Clinton. So here's what Dershowitz, this is why he's thinking the way he is, okay? Because he's thinking big picture, slippery slope. Don't try to expand the existing criminal law in violation of civil liberties to do what Stalin did, where the secret police chief, Lavrenti Ibarra, said, show me the man and I'll give you the crime, Dershowitz said. That's not America. This is not that much new there's not that much new that would warrant either an impeachment, certainly not a criminal prosecution. Let that sink in. This is a top legal constitutional scholar from Harvard. There's not that much new that would warrant either impeachment or certainly not a criminal prosecution. And they keep pounding this door. We don't know if Trump did anything wrong or not. They've been working in about another 5 weeks. They've been working on this for a year. A year. I had one of my, what do you call it, supporters, visitors, viewers say, you don't need to tell us go through every detail about the mainstream media. We know they're lying to you. That's a good point. But I want to bring up a few things about how they're lying to you and why they're doing it. And look at this. Here's a story. They pinned this leak on Donald Trump. Now, can you imagine Donald Trump calling up the Washington Post and the New York Times saying, we want to leak something to you? No. This is a leak, again, to make Donald Trump look ineffective or make him look like he did something wrong, make him look like he sold somebody out. Media leak of Manchester bombers ID further undermines U.S. credibility around the world. This is the Washington Times again. The mainstream press tries to blame this on Donald Trump. Where they released pictures and talked about places he went to and things that and even Theresa May kind of dogged out the Trump administration over the leaks, which that's the deep state, the New World Order, the criminals that are leaking things out, and it is a crime to leak out confidential information. I actually had somebody from the UK write me and say, hey, listen, this leak right here, this put people in Great Britain in harm's way, and I agree. This is the deep state will go to any depth of depravity to try to destroy Donald Trump. They don't care who is in harm's way, who dies, or what they leak out. And it wasn't the Trump administration. I mean, don't you think after all these leaks, you think they're going to call up the Washington Post, hey, now we've got something to leak to you? No. Another leak. Jared Kushner under FBI scrutiny in Russia probe. NBC. Another anonymous source leak. Anonymous sources. All these are anonymous sources, incidentally. Anonymous. Nobody names any sources. Of course, they say that Kushner's not a target of the investigation. He hasn't done anything wrong, and he hasn't been, tagged with a crime or hasn't been charged with a crime. But another anonymous source. This is how they do their business. Just anonymous sources. I wonder how many stories they could do without anonymous sources. Here's another one. This is a national security threat. This is outrageous. Trump praises Duterte, this is for the Filipino president, Duterte for Philippine drug crackdown in call transcript. They released a transcript. And in the transcript, Mr. Trump also boasted, now this is their words, boasted, the United States has 2 nuclear submarines off the coast of North Korea, but said, he doesn't want to use them. They disclosed U.S. military assets off the coast of North Korea. They should be, the people who released that transcript ought to be in jail. That's outrageous. They put everybody on those 2 submarines in harm's way. Don't you think that the North Koreans have submarines? Do you think they maybe do something crazy like ram one of them or something like that? Or who knows what they may do? Now they know, oh, there's 2 submarines off our coast. That's outrageous for them to read. And another anonymous, leaked transcript call. This is outrageous. People ought to be going to jail for this. That puts those, for sure, that puts the people on those submarines, all the sailors on those submarines, in harm's way for leaking that kind of information. And remember, this is a call between heads of state. Somebody that, Trump may need to curry some favor with to try to get some help. We used to have a big Air Force base, a big base at Subic Bay in the Philippines. We have a long tradition with the Philippines of being allies. And you don't see the president of the Philippines blasting that out all over the place. That was something he gave as a, hey, listen, I just want to take you under my wing and, and have a good relationship with you and let you know we have some assets in your neck of the woods. That's over in their neck of the woods, not exactly right next door, but, within 500 miles or so, 1,000 miles, something like that. It's over in that quadrant of the world, the Philippines, Asia. And then when you use real sources, people like Twitter will shut your account down. This is Twitter suspends WND for Seth Rich story. This is how Zero Hedge reported. And I got to tell you, and I wonder if it's just, my imagination or my computer. I had a hard time getting on WND for some reason. And this is the way they reported. Former Democrat, this is from WMD, and this right here. This is actually from WMD. Former Democrat National Committee interim chairwoman Donna Brazile. This is the story they broke now. Interim chairwoman Donna Brazile is the high-ranking DNC representative who allegedly allegedly called police and family of murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich and demanded to know why a private investigator was snooping into Rich's death, the private eye revealed to WND Monday. The private eye goes on to say, and let me just get this. There's the quote, high-ranking DNC official that called police after I inquired about Rich case was Donna Brazell. This is according to veteran homicide detective Rod Wheeler. He told, this is a direct quote to WND, why shouldn't I reveal who it was? Rod Wheeler is an African-American crack, very well-experienced veteran homicide detective, Rod Wheeler, who was hired to look into the case. Now, here's how Zero Hedge, this was again, Zero Hedge little analysis of what happened, and they said that WND somehow broke the rules. And, Zero Hedge went down the list of rules, the listed rules for Twitter for what you can't do, bullying and, doing violence and whatever. And this is what, and they couldn't find any of the rules they broke to get their account temporarily suspended. Perhaps the reason we can't find the rule that was violated is because Twitter doesn't overtly publish their policy, which demands the censoring of all media which conflicts with their progressive worldview. And let me tell you, if they find out that the Russians did not hack DNC servers, and remember, the DNC would not allow the FBI to look at their servers. The FBI did not get a warrant and seize those servers. The DNC hired a third-party group and said, oh, Russia hacked our servers. And boy, wouldn't that just completely destroy the Russian hacking case if it was a disgruntled DNC staffer, a DNC tech person that was angry that he found out the DNC was cheating Bernie Sanders out of a nomination for the Democratic Party for President of the United States. And I've been telling you that the mainstream media is destroying itself. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I guess the powers that be don't care. They're willing to destroy their enterprise to try to thought shape you, to try to get you to believe something that's not true, but people are wise to it. And this is a poll. This came from The Hills. This is an exclusive. Good for you, Hill, thehill.com. Majority says mainstream media publishes fake news. Whoa! And look at who the poll is from. According to data from the latest Harvard-Harris, this is like Harvard, the university, Harvard-Harris poll, which was provided exclusively to The Hill. 65% of voters believe there's a lot of fake news in the mainstream media. That number includes, check this out, folks, 80% of Republicans, 60% of independents, and this is stunning to me, 53% of Democrats, 53% of Democrats think the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS, is fake news? MSNBC? Unbelievable. 84% of voters says it's hard to know what news to believe online. And, I have the same problem. People, here's one of the things people do all the time. They state their opinion as proven fact. It's a false flag. How do you know that? Well, because it's a false flag. How do you know that? Well, I just think it is, so therefore it is. I try not to do that. I try to source everything, folks. And I'm not saying false flags don't exist. They do. Just if you're going to say that, how do you know that? That's a reporter question. How do you know that? The economy. I started doing the economy at CNN because I just thought, I'm doing investigative reporting and this doesn't make any sense to me. And, investigative reporting is just really data. You just look at data. What's the data say? Mostly, investigative reporting is about data. Sources, data, sure, yes, but data, really mostly data. And here is, this shocked me, and I've interviewed him on USAWatchdog.com, and I like him. I interviewed him at CNN as well. And it's Nobel Prize winner Robert Shiller. I couldn't believe he said this. With Trump, it's hard not to understand the market going up 50%. This is on CNBC. Now, I listened to the interview, and he kind of danced, hedged this and hedged that. And, leans towards it going up. Well, that's an extreme, but it could go down 50%, and it would more likely more than 10 to 20% up. And of course, he doesn't like the bond market, and I don't know how you could have a roaring stock market if the bond market implodes. I don't know. Maybe he is just taking a look at all this this printed money going and the market going, trying to find a place to go somewhere, and it going up. But of course, generally no mention of the Exchange Trade Stabilization Fund, the plunge protection team, how they rig the markets with program trading and logarithms and all that. And but so you have Robert Shiller saying, wow, Mr. Doom, Mr. Irrational Exuberance, the best-selling author for that book, said that market was overvalued before the 2000 crash. And then we have the Federal Reserve. It warns, this is from their minutes, warns vulnerabilities from elevated asset valuations pose risks to financial stability. This is from Zero Hedge. The Fed is all over the place. They're all over the place. I mean, they're all over the place. They got housing comes out. Housing starts are bad. Existing home sales plunge. Mortgage applications not long ago go down. Kashkari is out there saying, "What's the best?" It's fantastic. Things are really good. You got China downgraded, the first time downgraded in 3 decades. You got another Fed president coming out going, "This is the best economy in years." Best global economy. Really, with the number 2 economy, it's debt being downgraded? Really? You're getting a downgrade for China, the number 2 economy, and you think the economy globally is doing fantastic? And then, fine, and listen, every once in a while, something bubbles out on the mainstream media that, I can't believe you said that. And here we have a legendary investor, Asher Edelman, and he says, I have no doubt that PPT, the Plunge Protection Team, that is shorthand for the President's Working Group on Financial Markets. It's a real group, folks. And they're there to, come in and pad the market and make sure it doesn't fall too much and basically stabilize the market is what they say. But they've been stabilizing this thing since 2008. And he said, I have no doubt the PPT behind the market rally. This is also said on CNBC. Oh, unbelievable. And then Edelman tweets out this. I don't want to be in the market because I don't know when the plug is going to be pulled. And Edelman was talking about how we had this, Ariana Grande concert where they killed 20 or 22 or, injured more than 100, 120. The market should have tanked. Boom. I mean, when China got downgraded, the market should have tanked. Boom. We've had one negative thing after another, one horrible piece of information after another. And I called it my friend Gregory Mannarino at traderschoice.net. I mean, he ought to be on CNBC. Well, they'd never have him on CNBC, Fast Money. He's too smart for them. He's too correct for them. He told you last week when he was on that, dollar's going to take a hit. Sure did. It's still not out of the woods. But I called him up and said, you got Shiller saying the market could go up 50%. You got the Fed warning of vulnerabilities. You got Asher Edelman, Gordon Gekko, the character in Wall Street. Gordon Gekko, the vulture capitalist, they call it, which I don't like that term because it's just somebody who wants the assets as cheap as they can get them to in order for them to deploy their capital. But anyway, Gordon Gekko, this is Asher Edelman. That's who was the character that was off that greed is good. And he's saying that he's got no doubt the Plunge Protection Team is propping this all up. And Mannarino says, listen, and I'll just read you some of his notes that he gave me. I just want to just read you, because I wrote it down. Nobody can get their head around the magnitude of the distortions. The global, they're huge. He also says, we know we have these record high prices, and then we have, China being downgraded, the first time downgraded in 3 decades. And the market goes up, and we have record highs in the stock market. He also says, we've got these terrible news, but housing, as I said, applications for mortgage applications and existing homes and new homes, all down, 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 everything down. Then he said, and here is the nugget. And he says, and hey, listen, they're panicking. They are desperate to keep this propped up. Why? because they announced a few weeks ago that they were going to get rid of their mortgage-backed securities, more than $2 trillion of junk that is now raised in price because they manipulated the market, and they want to get this off their books, onto somebody else's books, and they need the housing market, which Manarino says it's absolutely in a bubble, looking for a pin, and he says, and they need the housing market to stay up until they dump all this. And he says, and after they dump all this, look out. Well, they may lose control before, who knows, but when they dump all this junk off their books, look out, I say. I say look out. Donald Trump was overseas, and he had a good trip. And even the mainstream press begrudgingly, Trump didn't make any mistakes. Trump exercised restraint. I mean, one of the headlines. I mean, just begrudgingly, right? And this is USA Today, and actually a fairly positive headline out of USA Today, which is rare. Trump calls out Muslim leaders. He says, drive them out of your mosques, drive them out of your country. I mean, and I know he lost his Fourth Circuit Court decision about the Muslim ban, about his extreme vetting, which is now going to get fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, according to Jeff Sessions. And listen, I don't understand this whole thing. I'm sure in the last 8 years, Barack Obama packed every court he could with as many crazy liberal judges as he can. Listen, the power of immigration, and I mean most of the power, resides in the executive branch, in the President of the United States. And I'll just tell you about the Elian Gonzalez case. I told you about that, the fact, in the past. And listen, the federal government lost every case. They lost a case for him to be for political asylum. They lost the family court cases where the kid could go to the family in Miami. They lost every case, and it came down to, with Janet Reno, the Attorney General, and President Clinton, it came down to Clinton has the power to send the kid back, and that's all there is to it. And he sent him back to Cuba. And that's the same power that Trump has. He has the power to let anybody in, even if it is a Muslim ban, which it isn't. It's the same group of countries that Obama was extreme vetting or banning or stopping or doing a pause or whatever you want to call it. But even if it is, the president has the power to protect the country from anyone, any group, race, creed, anyone. He has that power, and I think that's what's going to be the case at the Supreme Court. It's going to come down to, no matter what you think or what he said on the campaign trail or what he said after he was elected, he's got the power to do immigration and protect the country. And after this Manchester bombing, isn't he correct? I mean, one of the countries is is Libya, and this kid goes to Libya for been going in and out of Libya, was there for 3 weeks. Then he comes back, and then he has some sophisticated bomb that he kills all these people. It's pretty sophisticated to kill all these people in one shot, which basically totally justifies what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, if you've been to Libya, whoa, you don't come in here. If they would have done that in Great Britain, there'd be a lot of people alive right now. There'd be a lot of people who didn't have shrapnel, nuts, and bolts shot all through them from this bomb. That's outrageous. I mean, that's really outrageous. Finally, this is going to be the most important thing I say probably all year. This is really it. This is the most important thing I'm going to say all year. I know I end my newscast with fear not, protect yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. God the Father is in control, and His Son, Jesus Christ. I believe that. That's not a cute saying. I believe that. Because I don't want to end my newscast by telling you all these terrible things you need to pay attention to, and then not give you any hope. And I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of correspondence with people talking about the New World Order, the Luciferians, the deep state. They're going to win. Trump doesn't have a chance. He can't make it. He can't do it. These New World Order people, they're going to have their way. Hit my mic, but stop it. And I'm going to bring this up, and this is what I told you about the Case for Christ, the movie, which is basically Lee Sobel who was an atheist, who went on a mission to try to disprove Christ, and he did just the opposite and became a Christian. He proved, wow, he was an award-winning journalist, and he went through all the sourcing, and the sourcing is fantastic for Christ. He did die on the Christ. He was raised again from the dead. Okay, that happened. This is not a myth. This is not a cartoon character. 500 people saw Christ alive after the resurrection. That's fantastically sourced. And he died. There were teams of people that crucified people, and you'd be dead if you let somebody get off that cross and live, and you'd certainly be crucified if Christ, Mr. Rabble-rouser, rebel, according to the people that wanted him crucified, you'd be dead if he lived. That's why they stuck him with a spear. He had already suffocated. There's no sense in breaking his legs and suffocating him some more. That's what crucifixion is. They stuck him up in the chest with a spear to make sure he was dead. This is the most important thing that I am going to say all year. And it's for all the people that think the New World Order, the Luciferians, the deep state, the evil, and that's what we have here. We really have a fight, the fight of our lives, between good and evil. Period. The end. It ain't Democrat or Republican or liberal or conservative. It's a fight between good and evil. And this is Matthew 28:18, after the resurrection, and it says, "Then Jesus came to them and said," the apostles, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." Let that sink in. See this word right here? All. Not I'm going to share some with the devil. The New World Order is going to have its way for a while. The evil people are going to win. They're going to be able. No. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. I know my mainstream media buddies, if they see me doing this, blood's coming out of their ears because, can't mention Jesus, can't mention God. I mean, I was listening to Glenn Beck radio this week. They played a clip from Bono, who said he went to Jerusalem and he saw where death died, where Christ was buried, where death died. All power given to Christ. All. He also said later on in that verse that he'd be with you to the end of the age. He has all the power, and he's going to be with you. Keep that in mind. I have been absolutely... This keeps popping in my head over and over again, this verse. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. All. And that's what I want you to take away from this. Don't believe the hype, the mainstream failing press that's killing itself. Don't believe that evil is winning or they're going to win. Spoiler alert, they're going to lose. Don't believe that. Never, never, never give up, as Winston Churchill says. And I'll end it this way. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually. Prepare yourself. God the Father and His Son Jesus Christ are firmly in charge. Have a good weekend.